everyone. Thank you so much for coming out. I'm really, really sorry that we're
can't, if you want.
That's a totally great testament to the sense of community in this place and all of you that are hanging out. I did nothing for this evening, so I don't really have any standing to sit up here. I just want to take 2 minutes and explain to those of you who haven't lived in Roble before what the history of the real Roble is, and then I want to give big props to Ryan and Vineet and Samuel. In fact, why don't we do that right now? So the real Roble originated a couple of years ago when it occurred to Becky and me that we just kept running, our first year as RS, we kept running into extraordinary people in this dorm, and people who were extraordinary in ways that just were new to us, over conversations at Lakeside and just in the lobby, just constantly people who had passions that were fascinating and were about things that neither Becky nor I had thought about before, kind of subcultures that were just so incredibly interesting. And it was absolutely clear that that profusion of passions was the most interesting thing to us about Stanford. And it was the greatest privilege to us of being able to live in a place like this, was constantly running into people who not only were skilled in ways that we were not skilled, but were incredibly interested in things that never had occurred to us. And it just seems such a shame not to expose lots of people in this dorm to that kind of diversity of interest. So that's the idea. The idea was just to have people stand up and talk about what's interesting to them. The other thing I want to say is, if any of you, I hope a lot of you will leave here deciding that you want to give a talk like this. We're going to do at least one of these a quarter. But I want you to understand, I'm sure that you're here, first of all, the guts that it takes to stand up in front of a group like this and talk about what's really important to you. So I hope you'll be incredibly supportive of the people who are here. And second of all, not only the guts that it takes to stand up, but also the discipline that it takes to distill a life's passion into 5 minutes. We're really, really uncharitable in terms of giving people only 5 minutes to talk, but that's out of respect for you. So imagine what the kind of focus that it takes to distill it all down. Anyway, so big, big thanks to everyone who's talking. Big, big thanks to Ryan and Samuel and Vineet and to all of you for coming. Do you guys want to say something? Do you want to introduce people?
Sam's going to introduce people. Excellent. Thanks for coming. It's going to be great.
Yeah, so thanks to all of you for coming. As Act 1, we have innovation, and we're going to start with Maggie and her talk, Business as Unusual, Re-envisioning Capitalism as Social Good. Yeah, please welcome her. Thanks.
So when we were only 8 years old, my best friend and I, oh my goodness. When we were only 8 years old, my best friend and I unintentionally sabotaged a marketing promotion for a major supermarket chain. So in the weeks leading up to Thanksgiving, right around this time of year, a supermarket was running this promotion. And I won't get into the details of how we did it, but it involved cardboard turkeys. And basically at the end of the day, they had to give us 72 full Thanksgiving meals for free. And we ended up distributing them to hungry Vermont families all across our state. And it was a really happy, feel-good thing. It was really exciting for 8-year-old me. And we were really excited to repeat the project the following year and maybe even expand it to benefit more people. But we were devastated to learn from a store manager the next fall that the big regional supermarket conglomerate had decided to shut down the promotion because of what we'd done with it the previous year. I remember being really devastated and thinking that they were incredibly cold-hearted. And I was only 8 years old at the time, so I didn't have a really great understanding of business. And now today I understand that in business, profits are really, really important. But I also believe that they're not the only important thing about business. So that's what I'm hoping to kind of share with you today. So right now, the prevailing narrative surrounding business is that businesses primarily exist for only one reason, and that is to make profits and to make products and to make profits. And this really narrow-minded expectation that our society has for businesses is really tragically self-fulfilling. And I believe that corporations that are driven solely by profit really sort of squander their greater potential to create other types of benefits for our society. But at the same time, I also believe that right now our American sort of system of capitalism is undergoing this really tremendous shift. And I think that's because we as consumers and as business leaders are realizing that this old model that's based solely on profit is really failing to meet some of the greater social and environmental needs of our society. So I've become really passionate about this idea of using business to create positive social and environmental impacts. And I ended up spending my high school years interning with Ben & Jerry's and a couple other really environmentally and socially committed corporations. And during these internships, I learned about B corporations and benefit corporations. Has anyone ever heard of either of these before? Maybe one hand from my roommate who's had to listen to me talk to her about this before. And that's really typical. That's because these are really new and emerging certifications. At the same time, I think that these certifications are what's going to have the power to really transform American capitalism. So basically, I won't get into the details of what B corporations and benefit corporations do, but together, in effect, they do two really important things. One thing is that they educate consumers about proving that they're meeting certain high social and environmental benchmarks. And at the same time, they provide legal protection to companies to be able to make positive social and environmental impacts. Because in traditional American law, corporate law, businesses are legally obligated to act in the best interest of their shareholders, which means always maximizing profits or potentially facing a lawsuit. So with the benefit corporation certification, they have the legal leeway to be able to act in ways that don't necessarily maximize profit, but they can have positive social and environmental impact. So I believe that these certifications are really powerful and that more people should know about them. So I ended up spending my senior year of high school going to schools all across my state, trying to share with economics classes that these certifications do exist, and that businesses don't have to be solely profit-based. And I always like to end my talks with this quote from Harish Manwani, and he was the COO of Unilever, which is this Dutch conglomerate that's really committed to social and environmental positive impacts. And he says, when 2 billion people use your brand, that's the amplifier. Small actions can make a big difference. And I love this quote because I think it really captures what I see to be the beauty and the power and the all too often untapped potential of business to be able to do more than simply make profits. So at Stanford and beyond, I'm excited to harness this power of business to make the most positive social and environmental impacts that we can. And as the future consumers and definitely business leaders and all types of leaders of tomorrow, I hope you'll join me. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Continuing Act 1 innovation, we have John with Making a Maker, how I created a headset that rivals hearing aids.
So my tech journey started in 2012 as an 8th grader going into freshman year of high school. I had seen people on the internet making these amazing things with what was called an Arduino. It's a little programming board, you might have heard of it, that has lots of inputs and outputs, and you can program it to read different signals and voltage levels and interact with sensors and other different modules that you can hook up to it. And then using the wiring programming language, which is C++ and Java kind of combined, you can then make sense of what you're reading in. You can use logic and then output it as data or as different voltage levels and outputs. So as a child, playing with Lego Mindstorms, robots, and things like that, that was always fun. Building autonomous tanks and things that would, explore my house and shoot a cat, things like that. But then I've looked at this thing and, dragging little blocks around on a screen is fun, but, what goes into that? What really makes that work? So I impulse bought this thing called an Arduino with a passion to explore and just learn everything about it and how it works. And then with that, I then got into figuring out how to make that smaller. And I noticed a guy in San Francisco who had condensed this down into something that was like a centimeter square. And so I impulse bought that again and tried to work it into something and just make something with it. And I ended up making a watch that kind of worked for about 2 months on a little battery that I, coin cell battery that I put in it, and it would tell time, not very accurately, but it looked cool and I could wear it around and show people and they were, impressed. And I built a few of those, and like my CS teacher at high school then bought one from me, and some of my friends wanted them, but they didn't quite work as well as I wanted to. So I wanted to make it better and have more features and smaller and be a product that people could use. So I was looking online again, found these little LED screens which are pixel based, so I could do different designs and different watch faces and things like that. So I'd gotten into wearable technology at that point, and people had seen me online and wanted to buy some, and I built 3 or 4 of them. And then was looking around again with this just passion to build things, and found the transducers, bone conduction transducers. And what they are is basically a speaker without the cone that makes it look like a speaker. So it's just the electromagnet that receives an audio signal at the back. And how that works is if you put it up against